Alrighty, hello every folks and good morning. Welcome to a First Impressions for Lost Eidolons Veil of the Witch. So first and foremost, big thank you to the developers for reaching out and providing a code for this thing, and also a little bit of an apology because they technically sent me this code a decent minute ago. The problem is, this also happened to be the same day that the Evilist Chronicle sent me one too, and given the nature of the channel, there had to be some prioritization there. What's funny is they actually did respond saying that they understand, but still, all the same, wanted to apologize anyway. So let me go ahead and start by saying that I haven't played the original Lost Eidolons, so there may be some context that I'm missing here, but I have to say I've been having a ton of fun with this one. So, strategy RPGs in general have had this sort of vibe of chasing the tabletop experience in many cases. Oftentimes, picking and choosing mechanics here and there to go and follow off of something like D&D or what have you. And the results are often all over the place. It's kind of interesting to sort of see what bits worked or didn't. And in this particular case, what we see is a sort of a genre mashup that's worked out pretty darn well for a lot of other games, namely the sort of a mashup of rogue and SRPG type of genres. Now, obviously, we have the whole roguelike kind of shtick there. Personally, very similar to something like Ethermancer. This to me feels a situation where it's technically roguelite, but the way that the sort of meta upgrades happen feels very similar to, again, something like FTL or what have you, where largely you're going back with an expanded roster, more options available to you. There might be some more direct, permanent stat upgrades or something that I haven't seen, but to me it feels like for the most part you're kind of going back and expanding your options, expanding your knowledge base, and then going in again with a bit more information. So either way, let's go ahead and get into this thing here. I originally had a way better starting point in terms of what I wanted to do for this video, and then noticed I forgot to turn on my mic because, professionalism and stuff. So we're just going to go ahead and start off over here. So the way that this works is this is not actually where you normally start off a run. You would actually start this off in your sort of a hub town, but you go on expeditions going off to different areas around the island. So effectively you wind up shipwrecked on an island that's kind of going through what I would best describe, again, there might be some missing context here, as a sort of a Greek tragedy played out in medieval Europe, where effectively you've got all these different gods in the background, the Eidolons, as it were, that are essentially going and doing their thing, fighting against each other in various ways, and using the people in a war in between to do it. So functionally speaking, the reason that your people keep reviving every time that they're killed off is because, well, you've got a deity that's doing that. There's a lore reason for it. And additionally, on the opposing side, they have one too. So we have the situation where both sides, the sort of champions on both sides are functionally immortal. It's just a matter of who ends up completely party wiping the other one first, so to speak. So, for example, in this particular instance, there's two bosses that were killed at the end of various expeditions, and they heavily imply that they were just going to come back as soon as any losses happen. So, either way, it's just kind of interesting how that plays out. But the way that this game plays is something like this. So you're in your town, you pick your characters, and you start off with with this party of 5 right here. This is the party that I'm still sticking with, but you send out what seem to be something like talent scouts in order to go find more. These will then go and find different characters that you can go and start your runs with. Whenever your party gets wiped, they're brought back to a default state. So, for example, the rogue over here would be able to start off with Conceal, but he would lose his Molotov cocktail over here. He would lose his equipment upgrades and stuff like that, as well as any passives or whatever else that he didn't begin with. So, essentially, this means that they have a sort of deck of available skills and upgrades and whatever else that they carry with them. Each character has their own setup in that regard. But they essentially can regain those skills as they go along, and so this means that while you don't have a perfect idea of what somebody is bringing to bear, there's a lot of stuff that you can be pretty safely sure that you can get a hold of pretty quickly. Like, for example, one of the... was it this one? Or was it... Which one was it? There was one of these in particular that I always end up picking up on her. Let's just switch over to the mouse real quick. For some reason, it's not letting me select it. Yeah, this one right here, Second Wind. So, like, this is an ability that I've seen on most runs with this character, where every time that she's attacking, she's basically going to heal half of that damage to the party as a whole. And so this gives a similar vibe to something like FFT's Bard or something whenever she's going and attacking, just giving a nice little trickle heal, which works particularly well if you have a defensive setup going. As far as mechanics are concerned, I love how all over the place this has been so far, because we see a combination of a lot of ideas that either didn't really get a chance to shine in certain other entries in the series, or worked particularly well in other cases. Also, hang on one quick pause, because the dogs are going nuts over something. I swear, the dogs sometimes, like, they they just detect that there's a train of thought going. They're like, oh no, it's time to go bark at it, just like a random chair or something for no reason. Anyhow, so what I was trying to get at here is that when it comes to these various characters, they essentially are hybrids right from the get-go, which I personally love hybrid characters in anything, but the fact that they end up coming with a lot of different options basically gives you an idea of what you're expected to do most of the time when it comes to fights. Namely, that everybody's meant to be adapting all the dang time, because certain armor types are weak versus certain types of weapons, certain units are going to be larger, which basically allow for potentially doing combo attacks if you hit them with the right things from the right angles, and stuff like that. So we'll get to that as we get along here. But every time that you go to a new area, you essentially have something to interact with there. So like in this particular case, we see that there's a large effigy of some sort that apparently is reaching into your mind, which clearly means that we should just go and touch it. What could possibly go wrong? Image of a relic appears before you, and looks like we get either a spyglass for increasing the range of all allies' spells by 1 at the start of a fight, a forger kit, which is like a respec for one character, or a merchant mug, which allows you to recover 50% of health if you enter a shop. Now, it's worth mentioning these relics. So this is actually one of those things that I found really fascinating about the setting here, because they warn you several times right off the bat that when it comes to the relics, they're basically an otherworldly thing. Like, at all times, there's this sort of influence of these various Eidolon characters going on in the background. I don't know how much they dedicate to this particular idea. I like to think that there's probably going to be a bad ending if you take too many of these. But effectively, these give you a large boost to your current run, with the implication that there's maybe something more nefarious going on in the background, depending on how many you grab. Maybe they just strengthen the final boss, like it's something like Risk of Rain 2 or something. Maybe there's just a straight-up bad ending or something. But you are regularly being gifted these by the gods in question and told not to question it, while your own party members are like, yeah, this is sketchy as hell, maybe we shouldn't touch those. And you always have the option to skip them. So I know this is the first run that I've kind of been accepting everyone that came along, and it's been dramatically easier using them, because up to this point I've just been turning down every single one, but then I also really wanted to see how they worked mechanically, which is to say very well. Anyway, so let's go ahead and get into a fight here to sort of get into what the combat looks like. I should also probably mention, you'll notice that there's like little arrows pointing up and whatnot. This essentially means that you're going to get better results out of this particular route, just kind of like a random enhancement of a particular area. As far as the stuff that you run into, every one of these nodes that you travel along the way will have some, here, let's see, he's been here before, okay, fair enough, okay, yeah, this is a zombie encounter, so yeah, every area will have some sort of promised reward along the way. This particular one was for upgrade stones. So you noticed earlier when we were looking at gear, how it specifically had certain colors on those bits of gear. Well, essentially, whenever you complete most events, you get rocks that you can go slap into your stuff, like it's Dark Souls or something, and depending on what is effectively a dice roll, those will give you a certain amount of upgrades to your gear. Sometimes these are just a simple stat upgrade. Sometimes these will unlock new abilities, like for example, Eevee's thing over here allows for giving a regeneration effect to everybody in the party. Or some of them just have other effects. Like I think it's this guy's armor that causes everyone around him to get wet, which is... I mean, I feel like there's probably a dirty joke to be made there, but anyways, we'll go ahead and take the high road for now. But okay, as far as the different characters go, as I said before, they all start off with different abilities. In this particular case, this guy's kind of I don't even know how you would describe this. They're just a very defensive barbarian build in a way, where they've got two choices to go for either a bear or a horse stance. Personally, I prefer running bear stance and then sticking with the shield and spear. This gives 2 tiles of range, gives him a pretty significant defensive buff with a constantly stacking sort of momentum system that ends up building up over time as he ends up going and fighting. So whenever he goes and he fights something directly, whenever he does his yell, it gives him 2 points in that particular regard, and then potentially he can use different abilities to go and swap between different stances. So for example, in this case, I ended up going for a duelist strike over here for immobilizing and causing a sort of like focusing effect where somebody would be forced to attack only him, which works really well with the shield and whatnot. But one of the abilities that he can get is a type of attack that causes him to swap stances when he's attacking, meaning that he can essentially stack up for an offensive buff, attack something, and then essentially convert all of those offensive momentum points into a defensive stat boost and whatnot. And that's a really good bit of versatility there. You've got stuff like this lady over here, who we're actually going to go ahead and turn on her buff over here quickly so that we can get everyone topped off, and hopefully have this available for use later. So that'll give everyone a 30% regeneration buff per round. We've then got our rogue. Let's go with the rogue next. So he's going to be over here, and he's going to go ahead and hide. And this guy is going to be something more similar to... Essentially, if you play Triangle Strategy, he works very similar to her. Though, I will say, not only did the AI actually bother to be programmed by comparison... Oh, crap, he's on fire. That's a problem. Well, anyway, hopefully his regeneration will be more... Yeah, it'll be more than the fire. But yeah, no. The cool thing is that you can actually use the invisibility to essentially mess with the AI. So like in this particular case, he can just sort of body block the big guy over there to hopefully prevent them from joining the fight while we deal with these little guys down here. So let's see. Let's go ahead and swap her over to a bow. We're not going to have anything in range, but we're just going to have her wait for the time being. You can just go ahead and... Actually, you just... Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff around. You go ahead and do that. Now, you'll notice those little icons on the bottom right. We've got a situation where we've almost got like a Fire Emblem kind of thing in terms of different units being weak to certain things. So different armors will be weak to different types of weapons. Different weapons will potentially, in theory at least, counter other weapons. Yeah, I guess the fire took off his concealment, unfortunately. Hopefully he does end up surviving this round. But either way, this means that there's a lot of stuff mechanically going on. There's a lot of layers here, and one thing in particular that made me extremely happy is this over here. So this is like just this right here put the biggest smile on my face. So one of those big disappointments of the last few years was Crimson Tactics, I believe was the name of the thing, where they attempted a whole lot of ideas that were kind of novel, but then it just didn't really end up getting finished. It was sort of released half done, like a wet fart, and that was sort of the end of that. In this particular case, what they did is that they actually took a very similar mechanic in terms of the large unit thing, and they turned it into a fun combo system. So what we see here is that when you have large units, depending on their spacing and also randomized every turn, they're going to have 3 weakness tiles around them. So effectively, they take up 4 spaces, they take up a large amount of space, but they're usually really, really difficult to take in a direct fight. All right, and essentially this means that in this particular case, if we hit him with a spear, a bow, and a sword on the same turn, that probably would be enough to take him down right then and there, but realistically, nobody in the party would be able to take him in a 1v1 otherwise. So this kind of system is really fun, in terms of dynamic gameplay and whatnot, because it means heavy units are a massive threat unless you can surround them, in which case you can kind of mitigate a lot of that. It works really well, is what I'm trying to get at here. Anyways, I'm going to have him go hide in the grass real quick and just sort of wait. We're going to go ahead and have the rest of the party just kind of surround and defend this area. Just use our regeneration and this fire to go put away some of these guys over here. Just try not to deal with this as much as possible. Yeah, we'll take a crit boost. Oh yeah, so the defensive system. So there isn't really like a complete... like dodging system or whatever else. I like what they did with the defense here. Effectively, you have a guard rating and an accuracy rating. Accuracy rating goes directly against a guarding rating, and then you've got a critical version of both of those as well. And so this effectively means that even when a unit guards, they're still taking something. So it's kind of an interesting middle ground between your sort of like tactics ogres and your FFTs in terms of making sure that there is still at least a dice roll there, but also making those dodge rates not only rare, but also making it so that you're still getting at least something so that you don't have a complete nothing turn. So that feels pretty darn good. Also, I probably shouldn't have finished off that one unit, but at the very least, we can maybe trap this one over here for the time being. Here. Are you out of range or something, or are you... Yeah, she isn't hit by Berserk, is she? I think she's just out of range. Okay, let's move you here. Let's go ahead and ensnare this guy. There we go. So he's not going anywhere. He's going to stay on fire for the moment. Let's go ahead and have you be all defensive-like over here. So we've got 2 shield units over there. There is a zone of control system. So, for example, if you have somebody right here, somebody will be kind of stopped and forced to fight right there. So this does give a little bit more fluidity to some of your unit types. But as I mentioned before, they all have some sort of combination system to them. So, for example, in this case, I'm going to go ahead and use that guy to not only use the water from that hydro bomb to put out the fire in the middle to give us a safe place to potentially fight from, but additionally that'll give him a defense boost. And that sort of constant attempting to combine different systems feels really nice. You've got a nice elemental system going on, you've got a lot of different buff systems going on, you've got some neat combo systems going on. Like it just feels like there's mechanics on mechanics on mechanics, and I love those kinds of feelings. Okay. There we go. Give us back our free tile, please. Thank you. You're going to go ahead and probably just snipe from here, so that we don't necessarily need to get close. There we go. That'll be about there, and then you should be able to take your short bow over here and then finish this guy off. There we go. So there's also a interesting distinct advantage to shortbow units in this case, being able to attack from both melee range as well as 2 tiles away, which doesn't seem like it'd be that important, but it's pretty useful. Anyway, you go ahead and go over here and do we defend? I think we just heal this guy. Probably just go purification on him, because he just needs a little bit of a top off. There we go. And then you should be able to conceal pretty soon, if not already. Yeah, that's going to be next turn. Let's put Wind Stride, so that'll increase his movement. There we go. And then next turn, we can probably put him into position to block the big guy over there, have some ranged units pick him off, and then proceed onwards from there. Now, as you probably picked up here, these fights have a tendency to get fairly hectic. Not to mention every zone has all kinds of different gimmicks associated with that particular area. Like, these guys appear to be pretty darn big on their defensive buffs and what have you. But for example, there was one zone early on that was all about the zombies, just all kinds of various zombie type of units and what have you. And the result of it was that the final boss ended up going and using a lot of the same mechanics you'd occasionally run into. Like there were bonfires that their cultists would go and activate that would call in effectively an infinite horde of zombies to go attack you, and oftentimes they had like stat boosts to the point of being absolutely absurd. And so essentially what ended up happening in that particular instance was that, yeah, that boss partway through would end up going and activating one of those. Whereas the next one, the sort of next zone was one where there were a lot of large creatures, a lot of hellhounds and stuff around, and the final boss was just a really big guy that used the same mechanics. So it's cool to see that same almost like Mega Man-esque vibe to all of this. I really like that. So, okay. Here, let's see. Let's probably put you over here, have you do your yell to get a bit more momentum going so that hopefully we can carve through these guys a little bit easier. Get a couple of rage points, as it were. You're going to go ahead and... Can you make it here? No.
Let's get this started.
Alright, well, we can have our archer, though, go over here and attempt Probably attempt nothing, actually. So that quick attack that she's got on the bow, it's something that allows her to finish off one unit and immediately take a shot at another. There's a lot of mechanics like this. That would have been pretty useful there, but oh well. Here, for the time being, let's just have you probably move one tile over here, swap your weapons. Actually, no, let's have you move two over here so that they're not getting any spacing advantage here. And then use one of the relics from before to get a bit of a defensive buff going. There we go. There we go, and they're just going to go ahead and block off their own units. Fantastic. So that should be a decent formation. Oh, that's tricky. Okay. Yeah, the AI is pretty good at using the environment. I don't know to what degree they're aware of everything, but they do seem pretty good at taking advantage of it. Like right there where they were using a spacing move to make sure that there was no counterattack and to put her back into fire, which is just kind of a neat trick. But let's go ahead and have her go here. See if we're able to do that quick attack thing to maybe take somebody out here. There we go. That should be a one-shot on that guy because his armor's weak to arrows. Alright, one shot on that guy. Looks like we've got two openings. If she attacks him here, she is currently on fire, but if she attacks him here, that should take a decent chunk off. Barbarian should be able to switch over to his axe. Let's go ahead and give her a magic defense boost for the time being. She is a little bit on the lower side, which isn't ideal, but we can hopefully... Let's swap this. That'll get this guy taken out.
Wasted my time.
Perfect. Kind of thinking we put this guy forward as a bit of a bait, possibly. Or at the very least some lightning. Or maybe it's time for Sneaky Guy to unsneaky. There we go. I'll get him gone, then we should be able to follow up with something else in a moment. Hopefully somebody decides to follow him off to the corner there, namely the blue guy down at the bottom. To hopefully get some pressure off the healer, who probably needs to put up her... she's got this refuge skill that allows for regeneration and a damage reduction thing pretty soon. So I think we'll probably up that next round and probably try to hold that choke point there. Alright. In fact, actually, that's exactly what we're going to do. Actually... Yeah, she can do decent numbers against this guy.
I'm ready to captain.
Here we go. I'm on ready and waiting.
Alright, new plan, actually. Can you conceal yet? No. Alright, well, you take out this guy, then.
How did my steel taste?
Yeah, I was going to have her advantage versus that guy hopefully be used as a party heal, but...
Ready for your word.
Yeah, I think we'll do the refuge thing here. So let's put you over here. Let's swap to this. The downside of using this refuge is that it forces her to put her shield away. There we go. So that's a notable damage reduction on everybody. Let's see, if you swap, you do one of these. Perfect. Yeah, a lot of her attacks at this point are just immediate crits.
You point, I kill.
Alright, you get defensive.
What do you need?
You just kind of hide over here and pray that a stiff breeze doesn't knock you over. Okay. And that should be decent. Yeah, a lot of the fights are shorter than this, but there's a lot of different variety to what you can run into. Like, one of them was this just random pocket arena where there's just a circus that decides to give you a gauntlet of different fights. In other cases, you have specific objectives you're trying to achieve. There's a lot of different ways that stuff can play out. For the time being, though, you are going to go over here. You're going to go ahead and do one of these and just keep this dude from entering the fight. That should lock him away pretty effectively. The maps are also pretty intelligently designed in terms of making sure that you can't cheese this too hard, I should probably point out. But... cheese we will do all the same. Anyway, let's see. Sentinel, Sentinel. Let's see.
I live to serve.
Let's have you do one of these over here. And she does one of those.
Give the word.
You do the stabby. Probably could have done that on his own, but whatever. You're gonna go for an ensnare on that guy. So that'll keep him from joining. Then we've got two more that are sort of keeping at a distance for the moment. You are gonna go ahead and swap and just go defensive here. Not that I'm expecting her to get bullied too hard, but still. Yeah, there's a lot of... you can probably tell by all the different counters and whatever else. There's a lot of different ways to get around a lot of different things, a lot of different buffs and debuffs that are easy to forget about, which is why it's generally just safer to go play it safe as much as possible. Alright, you just go ahead and wait over there. Ah, crap. Oh, that's a problem. Okay, so he's in trouble. Though, one thing that's also worth mentioning over here is that we do have undos. So there doesn't seem to be any downside for using these. But effectively, what undos do is exactly what they sound like. Is that you can undo a turn, undo an action, and hell, you can undo and just redo the entire fight from the very beginning if you want to. It's like if we wanted to use them right here. This is very similar to the Tactics Ogre wheel mechanic, except you have or chariot mechanic, except that you have a very limited amount of them. In this case, you have 3 by default. I picked up an item partway through that that gave an additional usage of it. So you don't always have that many available, but you know, it's a useful thing to have. Anyway, let's go ahead and get Wizard over this way. Let's go and have you just fireball this one over here. There we go, that's decent. You're going to go ahead and go over this way, because she's not exactly much of an offensive powerhouse, but she can go over here and finish this guy off. There we go.
Finally put to rest.
But yeah, whenever she goes and does an attack, she heals for half of what she does, so that's pretty useful in this context. Anyway, I'll take out most of this guy. That one guy behind him is currently in a bit of oh boy. And we get another trap. Yeah, this place is full of traps, you don't say. Anyway, we'll give him a magic defense boost, because his physical defense is already absurd. Anyway, let's go ahead and finish this guy off. The one up top, I guess, is now just going to roast to death. I'm not too worried about the Barbarian right now. And there we go. Yeah, his defense is absurd, so no worries at all. This does have a very interesting mix of a lot of different feelings, because it's somewhere of a middle ground between what it oftentimes feels to run various roguelikes, but is also very similar to something like FTL. Like, in terms of, you get those like little bonuses along the way that just feel ridiculous, and then you occasionally run into some situation where they don't apply, and you have that little bit of panic and what have you. But yeah, it feels great. It feels really good. Is what I'm trying to get at here. Let's get that sharpshooter going. He's putting himself in a risky spot, but that's okay. Right, got himself marked. Sure, why not? Let's see. Summon the Cyclone to shred a single foe, lowering their defense. Yes, please. He is... looks like he's got one more turn of Conceal.
I've got this.
Do we have anything we can take advantage of here? She's got a shot over here. Here, why don't we switch over to this, switch over to... it's a regular attack over this way. Gonna go in the defensive against this guy. Because currently he's still blocking the way, and his crit rate is really high, so there's a decent chance that this will just finish him outright.
Until we meet again.
There we go. Yeah, the rogue is really good It's just he's also very easy to kind of fuck up and lose. So that's why I'm more worried about keeping him alive than anybody else. Because like the healer and the wizard, basically free. Like they just do their job as long as they kept the rest of the party alive. Whatever. When it comes to everybody else, it's a bit of a different story. All right. Let's have you go this way. Let's go ahead and have you swap over to your axe. And go ahead and take a big old whack off of this guy's health. And again, they don't get any counters when they're being attacked in this particular way. We'll go ahead and give him an accuracy boost so that he doesn't get blocked, because that does completely throw away a lot of what he does. Here, this should be a perfect setup to hit him on that weak spot, because if we go for the quick attack here, that should take out this one, and then she should automatically target the weak spot behind that other guy. We'll see. Oh, and it also sets him on fire. Good to know. Are you going to target the weak spot? Yes. Perfect. Okay. And he is basically toast at the end of the turn, so we can just focus on that guy. Okay.
Here we go again.
Do we even need to, though?
I must be healed at once.
Nah, you're good. You'll live. Alright, let's go ahead and cyclone that guy. Perfect.
Ready.
And then, one way or another, we can't get to that chest. I was going to say, we can probably take the time to go pick up that chest and what have you, but, I will. That's fine. I don't think we get the chest if we don't go out of our way to pick it up, but that's okay. It's probably just a little bit of extra money or what have you. Alright, now we get our shiny rocks. So, basic resonance stones are like these ones, where they just have a chance to give you better improvements in some cases. So, like in this case, this gives us weak upgrades to some things. In this case, I'm just going to go for this guy's axe, because he's got a better resonance with it. Realistically, the smarter choice might have been to improve the rogue's axe. But oh well. Upon defeating an enemy, the unit gains untouchable status, bypassing enemy zone of control. The status is removed the next time the unit uses its turn to attack an enemy. Okie dokie. I will hopefully remember that. Shiny Resonance Stone. Improved Knife. Yes. So he's actually got 2 slots for improving his melee weapons, so that's what makes those knives kind of special here. So whenever the unit gains concealed status, they're also cleansed of 1 harmful status effect. Good, because he regularly gets set on fire, so it's a weirdly specific problem to have. But whatever. Okay. Then we wind up over here, and we have the options for loots or more upgrades. I mean, I feel like repeatedly running for upgrades has been a pretty solid choice in most of these situations. Let's see. Something doesn't feel right. Stay away from the stones. This guy wants to study them. Okie dokie. Well, there's shiny stones. Okay, then just go approach the big one, I guess. And, okay, I forgot to mention, so there's dice rolls on stuff. Sometimes characters can go and interact with certain things depending on their backgrounds. In this particular case, he is a librarian that's here to study things, so a lot of knowledge-based stuff he's going to be able to go and just sort of handle. And so it seems like that'll just give us a resonance stone. Okay, the rest is a trap to protect it. Okay. Alright, so we get 1 upgrade stone, and what's that going to give us here? Can max out this guy's armor, sure. The last thing that the most basic upgrade is the final thing he's getting. Good to know. Okay. So yeah, we'll get a extra blessing for going down this route, sure, why not? More buffs are never a bad thing, and we're already halfway through another kind of mini campaign here, as it were. Okay, so something's off, apparently. Ritual circle that summons a phantom. Oh no, it's a spooky phantom. We're in the ghost house. Everyone's gonna get fancy butts. Okay, so there's ghosts now, apparently. Let's see. Okay, it's a doppelganger fight. How about that? Huh. Okay. Well, that's different. Good to know. Now, how close are they? Wonder if they actually have the same upgrades or not. That's what I was trying to see here. Here. Oh yeah, unit info. Oh no, they're kind of their own version without swaps. It looks like. So this guy gets new spells. This guy has a. What's all this? Annihilation descends like a storm, consuming all rage to surge to a targeted tile, bypassing zone of control and delivering a ferociously powerful sweeping attack that bloody surrounding foes. Okay. He's got greater stances or what have you. Okay. Yeah, so they're like maxed out versions of what we've got. That's certainly not a problem whatsoever. All right.
Weak.
So first order of business, back up a little bit and turn on some regeneration, I suppose. Yeah, this doesn't feel like it's gonna be a good time. Okay, you go here and get all sneaky like. Let's see. As far as weaknesses go, probably best bet would be to focus down the healer first. Get something like that going. I think probably the two powerhouses and one bait in order to make that happen. We'll probably need his Cyclone ability later, so we'll keep him alive as long as possible. Let's see. Does he need any triage? No. Probably would have been good to use that sooner. Alright, you go over here, triage this guy. There we go. And probably give her a guard boost to see if that helps here. Although there's also that beacon off in the background. I wonder if that can be interacted with. Suspicious altar. Okay, you know what? Forget fighting them.
Ready and waiting.
New plan. You're going to go turn that off, because I think everyone else is going to bide for time. I have a feeling turning that off will be what we need to do here. In fact,
Yes?
we're going to sacrifice the wizard for this plan. If possible. Okay, maybe not. I was going to say we can probably use his ability to teleport somebody. You're going to wait over there.
My turn.
You're going to stay defensively out of range. Apparently there's traps. Good to know. You are going to go ahead and heal yourself. Just use your better heal on yourself. Because there's still a bunch of fights behind this one, so there's really no sense in throwing everybody away trying to honor duel this nonsense. You go... Actually, no. You're going to go... Yeah, there's pretty much danger tiles everywhere. I feel like your best bet might be to... Why are there two of them concealed? Oh, that one of them's our guy. Right. If you ensnare this one... There we go.
You have my attention.
And then, by any chance, can you get close? No. So you just get to safety. And you just wait for the time being. So I'm thinking the way that this works, hopefully that keeps the healer away over there. Hopefully makes her focus on herself. Hopefully... Huh. Not really what I was expecting to happen, but sure. You know what? These guys actually kind of suck. Huh. Maybe we do just fight this, because, yeah, they're not really as much of a threat as I thought. Okay. In that case... Yeah, the zone of control is absurd, though. Let's go ahead and make you defensive over here. Alright, she's out of commission for the time being.
I'm on tenterhooks.
Let's see, what kind of tools you got here? You got Cyclone. And that's decent. What about this Fireball? Are you able to finish him off over here? almost. I don't know if this sets him on fire. I think it does. At the very least, the ground's on fire, so that should do that. Either way, at this point, he's probably... Okay, you're going to wait for the moment. Next turn, he's going to turn on his movement buff in case he needs to rejoin the fight. Alright. He's going to do his yell. Get himself a little bit of a boost going. Give himself a pretty notable guard boost. It's suddenly like a 9% chance to dodge things. Good. So they already lost a guy. She's still too busy healing from that one attack. Honestly, I probably might have been better off just sending out the assassin to go deal with somebody. Because just the leader by herself was enough to do quite a bit of damage here. But okay, whatever. We'll see how this plays out. Alright, you go here. Take out this one.
I must fall back now.
I'm listening.
Need something?
Alright. And then you go ahead and turn on your wind stride here, which should allow him to get past all this fog. Should allow him to get to that box up there, which should be all we really need to do here. Yeah, this is why I wasn't as worried about that guy. And additionally... oh, she's out of commission. Good to know. Would be nice if that crit, but oh well. I think this fog's probably messing with his ability to move. I mean, one way or another, as long as the fight ends, because I can almost guarantee that as soon as he gets to that thing, the fight probably ends. It just seems like exactly how this would work. Right, can you move yet? No, you're still stunned. Right, one more turn for him. Been a really good time for a crit. Yeah, if the healer was able to actually attack there, because he keeps reconcealing, I'm assuming that's some better perk that he gets later. If he wasn't repeatedly reconcealing, then she would be able to just party heal there. But unfortunately, no such luck.
Not doing well.
Now, let's see if you can swap weapons. Take this one out over here. Crit rate is only 8%. Yeah, he's probably just getting himself taken out if he does that. Although, he does have this. Because this is a thing that scales off of... Wait, no. It's... Which one was it? Does he not have the thing? There's one of his moves that that's supposed to scale based off how much damage they've taken. I think I actually ended up taking the wrong one this time. I think that's what's going on there. Alright. Is that it then? Are we good? Yep. Okay. Sounds good. Knew it. Though I feel like that probably was a directly winnable fight, to be honest. They definitely were not as defensively amazing as it seemed. So you've entered a divine crossroads, obtain a greater blessing. This blessing will last for the next 2 battles. Nifty. Now, the one thing... So, overall, I love the game flow of this thing. Like, it feels friggin' awesome. Also, we're just going to go ahead and take this time to go let everybody camp. So I love the game flow of this whole thing. I love the, like, vibes and whatever else going on here. Interestingly enough, whenever you go to these rest areas, you can either rest or train. So in this case, everyone's getting, gonna need a good bit of rest here. But additionally, there's usually going to be conversations between your different characters that improve their relationships. I'm assuming the game goes on for a decently long time because so far, several hours in, I haven't seen anyone even reach level 2 on their conversations. So presumably there's a good bit of that going on. But either way, the only complaint that I've had whatsoever is actually the classification system. So when it comes to this kinds of stuff, that stuff has to be legendary, mythic, or rare. I know that, like, it's just sort of the name of the game. You got your color-coded upgrades, you've got direct upgrades for certain things that are then taken away. I know. It's just one of those things that, I don't know, it always is kind of mobile game coded to me, which, I mean, granted, you know, it's popular for a reason and whatnot. It's just one of those things that I've never been personally terribly keen on in terms of classification, but it's fine. It doesn't really change anything here, because, like, the gameplay is still freaking fantastic. Let's see, do we get Birdie for a relic? Do we get more upgrades? Do we get more cash? I feel like we're kind of strapped on cash, and if we run into another store, it would be nice to be able to buy a bunch of other upgrades. Like, that's the thing. Cash on its own, not terribly amazing, but then you run into those situations where you finally hit a store, and it's like, oh, you finally get a party heal, you get several skill upgrades, you know, that sort of thing. Oh, I hate that lost condition. Yeah, there's actually only one lost condition that I've ever been not super keen on, and that's specifically those ones where it's like, if you lose a certain amount of units, you're toast. Because oftentimes there's some kind of trap partway through the fight that makes that matter. Like, there's one particular one that's essentially an ambush at a river, where you have some units that are going and blocking the way across the river, and you can fight them easily enough, but then more reinforcements show up behind you, and then suddenly it's like a 15v5, which is fine, except for the fact that a earthquake happens in the middle of the fight, and the river starts picking up, which ends up sweeping units down to the left side of the field constantly, while also the north side of it is still on fire, and then the options are either to escape or fight, and then because of the way that the text boxes work on this one, it's like there's a little bit of a delay, but if you're just mashing through buttons, you might accidentally select an option. And so the result of this is that oftentimes it's easier to select the option to stay and fight rather than run away, which is definitely the smarter option there. And yeah, so the result is that you're oftentimes having this big dramatic last stand, being completely surrounded, and can find yourself in this unfortunate just generally unfortunate position where you're going to lose one person, like, just barely, with, you know, one last guy remaining on the field or something. It's just kind of weirdly frustrating, but oh well. That's neither here nor there, nor is it a direct problem. There are plenty of ways around it. Just kind of one of those things, you know? Alright. Anyway, though, I think you get the general idea of what this game's about. The boss fights are a ton of fun. The lore of it is pretty interesting. The music is actually surprisingly good, too. Not really something that I mentioned much, but a lot of the themes are pretty darn solid. And yeah, it's definitely got that fun little battle-to-battle game flow. In fact, a lot of it makes me think of something like Sword of Convaleria. If you've never played that one, it's pretty freaking good, despite being technically a mobile game. It's definitely got some of the most variety as far as battles and stuff go out there. But this one, I would say, is very similar in terms of its game flow, where you're kind of managing your people in between. You're going and upgrading your units over time. You're potentially getting resets to an earlier state, although in this case, it's reset upon party wipe rather than upon completing a timeline, so, you know, a bit different there. Let's see, taking a stance doesn't end the turn, and any accumulated rage is converted, or we get a charging attack, a wild lunge that surges through defenses, hurling them backwards, which is the thing that we saw earlier, and I think we're going to do that, because I usually only stick with one stance in this guy, and I'd rather have that drunken strike I was talking about earlier, as far as all of those go. Let's see if we can damage this Lancer over here. There we go.
I'll show them.
Alright, now, if you go over this way, is there anyone you can take out with a quick attack? Yeah, you can take out this Lancer, and then that'll take out somebody else, too. Yeah, really high crit rate with Really high crit rate with your main character, and the quick attack is really sounding poorly. But that's fine, because we have our undos, so we can just kind of go back in time and essentially know where we need to be ahead of time and make sure to get there on time. And here's the thing, when it comes to reset mechanics, oftentimes I'm mixed on whether or not they really need to be there. Like, personally, despite Tactics Ogre being, one of my favorite things ever, the fact that it even has a cherry mechanic always kind of rubbed me the wrong way. However, something like Into the Breach makes it work particularly well, and that's basically the same way that it's handled here, where we have a very limited amount of them. It's essentially still limited to the current fight. Wait, what? No, 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 nope, nope. Undo that. Screw that. I hit the wrong button because I was too busy talking. Oh. Actually, that's doable. So, okay. No, no, no. We're undoing that. So, we're just going to go back to this turn right here. You're going to go over here. You're going to go take your crits versus this one, and then we're going to go from there and not select the wrong option this time. Okay. So yeah, in this particular case, it does work very well. You have a limited amount of them. You have mechanical ways to get more of them, which also implies that there's potentially ways to lose them, possibly. And additionally, when it comes to a lot of these maps, it allows them to have interesting gimmicks. Like I said, the like aforementioned situation with that one zombie encounter, where if you knew ahead of time, you could potentially prevent a dozen or more units from joining the fight. And it's also worth mentioning in that particular case, then you would know ahead of time that whenever you killed one of their units, they actually would end up instantly reviving as a zombie. So knowing all of these things ahead of time would then allow you a ton of different options. Or in this case, since we know which path we need to take, the right side is the more obvious one between the two, with more units available on the left, but, harder units on the right. But this one being a little bit closer should be a bit more of an advantage here. Let's go ahead and take this guy out. Like the previous attempt, this actually ended up lasting a really, really long time, to the point that those last 3 units were actually holding out for what almost seemed like a possible victory scenario here, but it just wasn't quite there. Alright, we'll do that. Go ahead and stabify this guy. And yeah, slowly but surely they were carving their way through, and it was due to a combination of different perks, where, for example, every time this guy does certain things, he gives a sort of temporary shield, that's what that number is next to their health bar, to everybody nearby. And so, for example, if she had survived up to that point, that would have potentially given us a massive advantage in that regard as well. Being able to potentially reduce everyone's damage and what have you. Either way, it's good stuff. It's pretty darn nifty. But yeah, there's a good bit of mechanical variety, quite a bit more than most SRPGs out there in terms of just the types of mechanics you'll be running into from fight to fight. So I'd love to see that. It's definitely got that sort of a tabletop campaign type of feeling where there's just always something else happening. Now, yes, a lot of times it just sort of feels like, oh, so you just wanted to put a fight here? Yes, I just wanted to put a fight here. And that's perfectly fine. It works very well with this particular setting, considering you are fighting stuff most of the time. That is the main bulk of the gameplay, so that is something that you should be doing. And it's kind of neat to see that the AI does have quite a few tricks up its sleeve, like you saw right there, with those spearmen, essentially being able to pull your units backwards, which makes escaping all that more difficult, as you think you're out of the horde, and then they just pull you right back in as your tank tries to escape, and you only have 1 life left before you kind of meet your loss conditions, but they just keep getting pulled back. So that kind of stuff is very dramatic, especially in these situations where realistically, like, this dude can take like 50 of these guys in a 1v1, but the fact that they're using spacing to keep them from escaping is it's very neat. So I like that. Again, just has that nice little dramatic campaign feeling, as it were. So it's good to see all the characters getting a chance to shine and having a reason to be there, except for Laurent, but he's there for scholarly stuff. I will replace him at the soonest possible opportunity, all the same, but still. So yeah, it's nice. It's just great to see these situations. Like, it doesn't seem like there will be much of a reason to care about the diagonal attack on that greatsword over there until suddenly you really care about it in situations like this where everybody's completely locked down, you know? Where it's the one source of escape. Here, we can probably just use that charging attack. Oh, I guess I don't have it this time, do I? Well... Whatever, take that guy out. We'll probably have to rescue him in a moment. But either way. So, that is Lost Eidolons Veil of the Witch. That's going to be the first impressions for this one. Yeah, would I recommend it? Definitely. This game's a ton of fun. I actually didn't see what the price was. Let's go ahead and see what that's looking like. What is your numbers, game? Yeah, $25. Yeah, get a good bit of entertainment out of this one. Given what I've seen so far, again, I'll be doing a follow-up review once I complete it. Given everything, I'd assume this is a pretty friggin' long game because, like, just the fact that the conversations alone haven't even ranked up once over the course of this whole thing. The fact that there's a bunch of meta stuff that I haven't even touched off in the background. Like, I've maybe visited the hub once over the course... Well, okay, a couple of times over the course of these, like, close to 10 hours I've been playing this thing. So that's telling me that there's quite a bit more to go interact with. So that is good to see. So there's definitely going to be a good bit of meat on them bones, so to speak. Are you getting any levels off that, or are you maxed out? You might be maxed out, actually. So yeah, it's good stuff is what I'm getting at here. Let's see if you can... Do you want to take out that one? Yes, please.
Always another foe.
There we go. See if they can just go make their escape here. They only got the one guy blocking it now. Realistically, I probably should just be walking around him instead of fighting him, but dang it. I'm gonna make it happen all the same. The same fire arrow trick from before. Yeah, they're definitely aware of the environment. So last time, the big guy trapped her on a burning tile on top of that guy setting said tile on fire, just constantly making sure that she was burning despite regenerating to try and get around that. So I feel like the AI is smarter than it seems. But again, I don't know. It does seem like they're pretty well aware of the tools at their disposal, though. So yeah, there's that. Anyway, y'all have yourselves a good one. Thank you for stopping by. I will see you in the next one of these, whatever they happen to be. I know what the next one's going to be, actually, now that I think about it. Yeah, that one was quite a technical nightmare, but we're not going to get into that. Anywho, so yeah, y'all have yourselves a good one. That guy's incapacitated. Dang it. Don't suppose you have the means to finish him off here anyway? Not quite. Well, you can at least go forward and defend. There we go. And then they can escape next round. Alright, so, y'all have yourselves a good one. Thank you for stopping by. Take care, and I'll see you then. Later.